Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and this is Radioland, my radio trends newsletter. And this podcast is sponsored by RSS.com. RSS.com now has a fully featured API, so it couldn't be easier to get your stuff from your playout system into a podcast system. You can even earn money with advertising on it as well. You'll find more information at RSS.com. Now, it was excellent to have been on 666 ABC Radio Canberra on Monday to talk about ABC Radio Perth's switch to FM earlier next year. As you'll recall, I'm in favour of all ABC local radio stations in capital cities like Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Canberra, all broadcasting on FM. It's always a little difficult to talk about the disadvantages of AM on an AM station. But I think Alice did a good job steering me through and dealing with a mixed bag of reactions. Of course, AM listeners love AM, after all, especially when you get a former engineer calling in who uses the word propagation in his first sentence. You know it's going to be an interesting half hour. Many of the callers made the same point, that AM reaches further. It does, of course. It's harder to blanket a country like Australia with FM, undoubtedly. But for capital city radio, range isn't the issue. To replace 666 kilohertz in Canberra with an FM signal would cover the vast majority of the population on a waveband people actually use. And as I've repeated relatively often, radio broadcasts are only good if people have the radio to pick them up. And that's increasingly where AM radio is failing. Tomorrow morning, I'm on ABC Radio Brisbane at 7:40 AM local time, and then, confusingly, on ABC Perth and WA at 6:15 AM local time. I know, time zones. Here's hoping I do okay on both. And if you want to go and have a listen to the audio from ABC Radio Canberra, be my guest. You'll find it on the website version of this podcast, which you'll find linked in the show notes. In the US, the AM for Every Vehicle Act, which mandates AM radio receivers in cars, has been watered down to last 8 years rather than 10. It's been waiting since April to be voted on. I linked to the versions for Congress and the versions for Senate. I don't really understand why they're different, but then I don't really understand anything about American law. And I'm clearly no lawyer, but the requirement is in the law to receive signals and play content transmitted by AM broadcast stations, and then gives a definition of an AM broadcast station as being something which has been licensed by the FCC. Now, I don't see anything in this law actually requiring an actual AM receiver, or anything requiring that the AM broadcast band is receivable in its entirety. So I do wonder whether some car manufacturers might just gently point out, yeah, you can listen to the stations available on FM, you can listen to content transmitted by AM broadcast stations through this tune-in integration. I mean, that would work, wouldn't it? Another thing, and I'd not spotted this before, but there's also a requirement in the law for a study on how effective AM broadcasting actually is for emergencies, and whether some other technology is better to reach at least 90% of Americans in time of crisis, including at night. All the big US mobile phone carriers claim to cover well over 99% of the US population. So let's hope that they don't discover mobile phone alerts. Also in the US, President Donald Trump is considering charging broadcasters for their use of the public spectrum. I linked to the social media post in question. Now, that's the case in some parts of the world. In Australia, the government abolished broadcasting licence fees in 2017. This year, temporarily waived the charges for broadcast spectrum. My suspicion is they will continue to waive that because it's a lot of money to pay, and I don't think broadcasters can afford it anymore. And talking about broadcasters, here's Brisbane Radio Corner. I know, but it's left to the end, so you can skip this bit if you want to. A 3-minute drive from ARN's studios in Brisbane, which is the owner, of course, of KISS 97.3, is the 4X Brewery, which makes one of Australia's top-selling beers. But if anyone from ARN invites you to a party there, it's becoming increasingly clear that they couldn't organise one. Kiss 97.3, which is Brisbane's number one hit music station, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but James, B105 is Brisbane's number one hit music station. It says so all the time. Yes, I know, but Kiss 97.3 is also Brisbane's number one hit music station. They say that all the time. How can you have more than one hit music station? I don't know, but they've both managed it somehow. Anyway, Kiss 97.3, Brisbane's number one hit music station, said an emotional adieu to Robin, Kip and Corrie from their breakfast show on November the 28th. I linked to some audio from the website. Strange time to leave, November the 28th, isn't it? I mean, that's mid-survey 8. There's another 2 weeks still to run. Anyway, Craig Lowy Low was limbering up for a breakfast show on the station where he'd undoubtedly have got Lowy lower audience figures, but would have come with a Lowy lower talent bill, so that's probably okay. Robin, Kip and Corrie's production team of 10 people have all been looking for new jobs since, and most of the production team have been snapped up by other radio broadcasters in the area, which is great to see. Although a strange decision for ARN to only start hiring for Craig Lowy Low's producer on November the 27th, given his new show had been announced on October the 29th. And then this week, ARN changed their mind, announcing Robin, Kip and Corrie are returning in January. Imagine being the person who had to renegotiate that deal. Goodness, what a mess. And what an awful way to treat your talent. Without many of their experienced production team, though, it'll be hard to get up and running again. Craig Lowy Low will have a Lowy lower profile doing a national evening show on the Kiss network. Who knows whether he'll come from Brisbane or come from Sydney, though his brief tenure at SCA saw him in Sydney, so it probably makes sense that he'd move a little Lowy lower down the country. I'll stop doing this joke. Robin Bailey said on a social post, "We will see you from 5:30 a.m. on January the 19th with some more really exciting news about who we are and what we're going to do." That's a strange thing to say, isn't it? We know who you are. We know what you're going to do. That's the very reason you've been hired back. So what's really going on here? I don't think this story's done. Also happening on January the 19th, Christian O'Connell starts simulcasting into Sydney on Gold 101.7 and into Brisbane and Adelaide on Gold on DAB+. Now, where am I speaking next? I am speaking next at Podfest in Orlando, in Florida, which may be why I didn't comment on the conversations earlier in the US. Anyway, yes, I'll be talking about where we've been, where we're going. I will also be on stage doing the new media show, which should be fun. So looking forward to doing that, which has reminded me that I haven't put that into my diary yet, so I should probably do that. I've also put myself forward to speak. There's an inventors session, which is probably run by one of these inventor companies who will then buy your idea and sell it for, hundreds of things. Anyway, I am going to talk about location-based podcasting, which is already an open standard, and so therefore there's nothing to actually own, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, hopefully if they let me, so that might be fun. But anyway, looking forward to being in Orlando, he lies, and that should be fun. January the 15th to the 18th at Podfest. And then at Radio Days Europe in Riga in Latvia, where I will be. I think I'm getting there on March the 20th. But the event is March the 22nd to the 24th. And the reason why I know when I'm getting there is I've finally booked the flights, finally, after all this time. Anyway, I'll be talking about the future of audio being people-powered. And how we'll listen to radio in the future, on what devices, and how we can make our output truly unique. It'll be 40 minutes of me talking. So that'll be fun. I'd go to that. And so should you. Radiodays.com is where to buy tickets for that. And thank you so much to the many supporters of this podcast and of the newsletter, including Clyde Broadcast, the radio people, Wade Kingsley, the creative coach, who had something to announce and now doesn't. So who knows what's going on there. Soma FM and Meliora. The excellent Clive Dickens will also be at Radio Days Europe, I notice. Thank you also to Craig Strassel, Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey and James Masterton. I should thank Rupert Brunn. Where's Rupert Brunn? Oh, there he is. Brunn Audio Consulting Limited. Yes, I should thank him too. You're all regular supporters. Thank you so much. If you would like to support my work in any way, dear listener, you can buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland. You can become a member to give regularly or just buy a one-off coffee or 10. That would be absolutely fine. And if you want to follow me on the socials, then james@bne.social is where to follow me on Mastodon. I know, but, I'm on Mastodon. And my website has more details about who I am, what I do, whether I can help you further. You'll find that at james.crid.land. And until next time, keep listening.